Hey guys, my name is Nick and welcome back to the channel, and the first thing you might notice is we are in the area where I normally do my battle reports, and that is the dining room. Very exciting place to be, but no battle report. I need the space for this video. So this is quite a big video for me. This is video number 250 on the channel. I've done 250 videos after this one. That's in what, just under 3 years. So that's quite some going really for a relatively small channel. I'm quite proud of that number, and in order to honour that big number, we're going to unbox I believe arguably Games Workshop's biggest box set in value to date. This caused quite a bit of controversy all over social media about the price tag of this box. I didn't pay full value for it, let's be clear of that. I did pay a discounted rate from an FLGS store. But yeah, we're going to go through and have a look at it. Then I'm going to break down the pricing and find out, really, is it worth the money that Games Workshop were really charging for it. And the box set in question, if you are unsure of that, is this one. Necromunda's Dark Uprising. It is massive, as you can hear and see. It is huge. Well, you kind of want a big box if you're paying big bucks for it, right? It makes you feel better. So we're going to go through all the contents of this. We'll have a little look at what's going on inside. Then we'll have that conversation right at the very end to see whether it's actually worth the money Games Workshop were charging. I think they might have been pushing their limit, but we'll take a look. We've seen the images online, but there's nothing compares to that new box smell, opening it up and taking a good look inside for yourself. And value is in the eye of the beholder after all. So when we come back after my superb intro credits, I'll switch the camera around, we'll place it at a sensible angle so that we can all have a look as we live unbox Necromunda's Dark Uprising. Let's get straight into the video. The camera's been switched round, we are ready to unbox, armed with my trusty scalpel to cut open that cellophane. Then we'll take a look at the artwork without that cellophane on so we don't get that horrible camera glare, and then we'll delve inside into the deep contents of Necromunda's Dark Uprising. So let's just cut along these little edges so we don't damage any of the box itself. Let's get that out of the way. And here we go. This is the artwork. Now my dining room lights are all over this. If you can see those 5 lights there, look at that. That's my lovely lamp above the dining table. But yeah, as usual with these boxwork artworks these days, they are just pretty damn good. Really capturing the dark, gritty underhive fighting from Necromunda. Yeah, always nice to have a bit of artwork on there. I'm hoping there might be a poster inside. A lot of the box sets of late have had a copy of that front artwork as a poster, but we're going to find out as we go through the video. Just on the side then, Savage Cult Uprisings in the 41st Millennium. There we go. Pretty much same on this side, a bit more artwork. And on this side, yeah, exactly the same as the other side really. And an Enforcer on that side. Just about to see that on the camera. And finally on the back, we have the full glorious contents. Corpse Grinder Cults versus Palatine Enforces. So we've got the gangs of the cannibalistic Corpse Grinder Cults. The savage heretics are dedicated to the Lord of Skin and Sinew. These are raving madmen that care only for slaughter and for their chance to feast upon their vanquished foes. Yeah, they sound grim and dastardly, right? That's grimdark right there. The Palatine Enforcers are Necromunda's brutal peacekeepers. Each one is ready to deliver Lord Helmorn's. Lord Helmor, is that how you pronounce that? Yeah, I suppose so. Justice to those who would dare defy the will of the Imperial House. So we get a full list of all the contents then, right at the bottom of here. 128 page rulebook, double-sided play surface, and I believe that is going to be material or card. Deck of 70 game cards, range ruler, special dice, 15 Corpse Grinder Citadel miniatures, 11 Palatine Enforces and Subjugator, 6 frames of Zone Mortalis columns, 4 frames of walls, platforms, doors, Thermic Plasma conduits and Necromunda barricades. And the big thing about this box set that everyone was on about is the awesome terrain. So sounds like we've got a lot of that, but you know, we want to know how big the frame is, what's going to be on it. So we're going to delve right in. Are you ready for that new box smell that you can't detect on the video, but I can hear? Oh, just take in the aroma. Oh, plastic. A little bit of bubble wrap in the way, and now we are rammed to the gunnels with lots of plastic. So what I'll do is I'll remove it all out of here, and then we'll take a closer look. This is just, you know, I like a bit of terrain on this channel. This is going to be no different. Just frames and frames and frames of terrain. Oh, got a little loose bit of orange thing there. That's going to be a miniature frame, miniature frame, miniature frame. More terrain. That is all the frames. And as I was hoping, and as has been standard, we do have a nice piece of artwork that we can stick up on our wall frame forever. And then, yeah, a bit more gangs and sales picture on the other side, but hey, we've got a nice poster of the cover artwork. Very nice. Now inside, okay, we've got a little bit of loose terrain that's popped off the frame there. We have the revised rulebook. Now Necromunda's been around for a little while in several guises and editions now. But we have a updated rulebook. Then, oh, look, a little flyer for a book. Necromunda dice. Now we have all the bases, and they're not the plain plastic bases. These are Necromunda tiled bases. Have a closer look on the camera if I can focus it. But no, these are the moulded bases rather than standard black plastic ones, or having to buy the upgraded ones. That's nice. A big meaty card deck of all of the bits and pieces we need for that. Rather large, well, fairly large, quite thick instruction manual bundle, so we can see how we put all the models together. And all the terrain. Old school. How many different colours of these have people got now? I've got green and blue and clear and all kinds of these. I think I went through a patch of throwing the old ones away with 7th edition, because 8th edition 40k doesn't use them, but Necromunda still does. We have ourselves a little decal sheet for the Enforcer Patrol. Right there. And finally, right at the end, oh, there we go, we've got a little range ruler. They've been throwing these in. I don't think anybody actually uses these, right? Everyone uses a tape measure. We've got a couple of extra baggies for putting all the cards and tokens in, which is always nice to see. Save raiding your kitchen for freezer bags or anything. So we have, these are all going to pop out as I try and extract this from the bag. One sheet of all of the tokens. That's very good. And then finally, this must be the playing surface. Now it's not card. It is like a weird, very thin lino. Is that the best way of describing it? It's feels quite not really tear proof. It just feels like a weird bit of paper. Now this is enough to get you going. But Games Workshop, in their cunning infinite wisdom, have also sold us some proper plastic squares in order to build your terrain on. So this, I think in most people's eye, are either going to be replaced with a proper gaming mat, or they're just going to, you know, go and buy the plastic ones, or even the Forge World Zone Mortalis boards, which I do have kicking around, and I want to see whether these are fully compatible with that. But on the whole, I think that is just thrown in to get you going. I mean, it looks pretty. It's got blood splatters and bits and pieces on it. But the reality is, if you're going to build and paint a bucket of terrain, it's going to be kind of wasted on this, which feels a bit meh. So there we go. That is the content. So let's go and take a closer look at all the sprues. Now the first set of sprues that we'll take a look at is the corpse grinder ones. So these are your bad guys for it. So what we have is 3 exactly the same frames. There's nothing unique about any of these. They are all exactly the same. As you can see, when you pile them up, they are all overlapping, therefore they're all the same. So I'll put 2 of them away and we'll just take a look at one of them. There we go. What I'll do is I'll actually take some stills of these and put those up as well, so we can actually have a look at the more individual components rather than on the video camera. But basically what we've got is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bodies, and then we've got a plethora of weapons. So lots of chain blade looking things, lots of, you know, sort of improvised weapons, a few sort of stubber pistols and so on. So yeah, it's and a few choices of heads by the looks of it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or so heads that I can see, maybe 7 heads. So we've got some options. There's another head down here, another couple of heads. In fact, there's plenty of different heads. There's loads of heads. So we can at least mix and match. Okay, the bodies are going to look the same, but we can paint those up a little bit different. But we can also add that variety with some of the different weapons and some of the different heads. So even though all 3 frames are identical, we should be able to get in a little bit of variety out there with the paint jobs and so on. The poses are probably going to look a little bit samey, but there's definitely ways around mitigating everything looking exactly the same. Now we move on to the Palatine Enforces. Now there are 3 frames for this, 2 of which are exactly the same. That's the one with the big shields, the big slab shields on. So we put one of those to one side, and then we have a slightly different one over here, which contains all of the main body parts really. So again, lots of head options. If I try and get this on camera, so lots of head options across here and along the bottom of the frame. Again, I'll take some stills and put those up on the video so everyone can see those a little bit clearer. But again, lots of detail. I think most of these have been shown online in the Warhammer community page. But it's always good to try and have a look at this live for yourself. Also on this frame are some of the weapon options and so on as well. Again, lots of sort of shotgun style weapons. There's a couple of power mauls in here. There's even a sniper rifle sitting down the bottom of here. Certainly a long range, long barreled type weapon. Pistol holsters, grenades, all that good stuff that you find in the Underhive. And moving on to the duplicate frame, so there's 2 of these ones. This is the ones with the big slab shields, which are quite obvious here. Lots of other cool weapons, lots more head options, again giving us that variety as we go through the build. So all the torsos are on this section as well, and lots of leg parts as well. Big shock mauls down here, so you can just about sort of see that on the camera. It's very difficult trying to film this, let's be honest. But again, lots of variety that we can try and make out of this. Is that a grenade launcher kind of thing that's here? There's some very cool looking pieces anyway. That's the main important part. However, what we want to do is go and have a look at the terrain. The terrain is probably the biggest piece of value from this box set. So when we come back, we'll take a good look at the frames for that. So the first ones we're going to look at is the columns. Now you get 6 frames of this, so they're all identical. So we have 6 here, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll put those to one side and we'll take a look at this singular frame. So yeah, this is going to make columns. So there's bits enough to make a column. So we've got a top and bottom piece here. We've got all the wall sections to make these little sort of hex grids, and then there's all these sort of interconnecting components here that work with pipe sets and other Games Workshop Mechanicus terrain. So these are quite common amongst those. They fit and make the pipework look like they interconnect and look like a natural point on the figure or on the model. Got a nice little control panel here with a big screen in the middle here, which is quite nice. Then we've got another piece to bolt on the side, looks like a canister of some kind. And that's pretty much it. So that is what we get 6 of. Now these are kind of the mainstay pieces of terrain that are going to make up your elevation, your height as it were. So we've got plenty of these to play around with on the sort of the 2 foot by 2 foot square that we've got as a playing surface. What we also get are 4 frames of walls. Now these are 2 different types of frames. So we've got ones here, just these 2 on the left are identical. And as you can see, these are all sort of singular panels that are going on here, and then some slightly slimmer ones here. So those are the wall sections. We get 2 of those. And then we get 2 other frames which have got a couple of double wall sections on, so we get a little bit more distance without having to use all of the smaller wall sections. Lots of other little bits of interconnecting pipe work that we're going to use to connect all of these wall sections together. And again, each of these have got these sort of vent sections, these little vent circles, which are useful for connecting all the pipe work together, because this really works well with all of the other Games Workshop terrain. It's become very, very modular. Lots of thought clearly goes into how to connect this with your other terrain kits. So that is the 4 wall sections. We also have a door section as well. So you can see here we've got all these zigzag door entry points, which is very cool, and some pillars for where all the doors sort of recede into, and that's where we'll be connecting all of the wall sections to those as well. Now what we have is all of the platform sections. So this is the bit where, you know, where you've built up all of your columns and you put all your walls, you can now build some platforms on top to give the models something to walk around. So quite wide, so we can get plenty of miniatures across where we need. And very coolly, which we've not really seen, I can't think of where we've seen these before in any of the Games Workshop kits that I've certainly built, and that is stairs. Finally, we haven't got to chop things up or just rely on ladders at all. We've now got some decent stair sections. We do have some ladder pieces as well, but you know what? It's nice to finally get something that looks like people can actually walk upstairs without having to magically go from the ground floor to the upstairs. Now it does look like they're, you know, that you can see in here that they are sort of hollowed out. So actually your model's base will be able to fit inside each of these steps, which means that when you're measuring your distances, hopefully in theory, providing you don't build your base up too much, the models will actually fit on the staircase and you don't have to do wobbly model syndrome or just assume that they've made it halfway up the stairs. Stair handrails are on here as well. Lots of other platform sections. So we've got 2 that look the same here. And then we've got 2 other ones here. Now this has got some ladder sections on this one, and some more platform sections, more handrails, guardrails, terminal sections, lots of little bits and pieces of archaeotech that is dominant in the Grimdark. Now nearly at the final sprue then, we have all of the sort of the barricades and obstacles. So what we've got here is just a frame of that. We've got box crates with weapons in. We've got a weird little tentacle thing here. Reliquies, command terminals, lots more boxes and crates. Bits and pieces to sort of add as scatter terrain. There's the lids for those boxes just up here. Just something to give you a bit of interest compared to just sort of plain walkways and gangways and so on. So we're going to be able to add a little bit of detail. Now once again, if you've got loads of barrels or anything else that's kicking around from your other terrain kits, it's going to work perfectly on this kit as well. And finally then, we have a frame of Thermic plasma relay pipes. Now these have been out for some time. I've got a whole bunch of these kicking around. I've painted up a good portion of them, so I'll be able to use some more of those in this as well, just combining all the sets together, which is what it's all designed to do. So as I mentioned, you've got those little circular pieces. Let me just grab one here like this. That's where it'll interconnect into the rest of your terrain and make it look a bit more contiguous rather than pipes just appearing and disappearing at a whim. So we've got a set of those as well. So just to wrap up the final part of the unboxing, and then that is the gaming materials themselves, the rule book, the cards, and the instructions. Now we'll start with the building instructions first. So there is a mini pamphlet for each of the varying sections of the box. So we start with the Corpse Grinder Colt. So this tells you exactly how you're going to be building these. But when we go through this, we can see there are plenty of options. So there appears to be some like named types of characters. So we've got the Hand of Crimson, Scoregrag, and so on. So you can build them specifically to that. But when we get to the very end, you can see the variety of options I was talking about when we were just looking at the sprues themselves. The number of different heads, the number of different types of arms. So the possible builds, there's quite a lot of variety in there. So even though the main torso pieces are going to be common, which you can disguise with varying different types of paint job, just in the different colours of clothing and cloth. But there's plenty of weapon options and head options to give that variety on the build of these fellas, even though there is just those 3 frames. So moving on to the Palatine Enforcer Patrol then. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of these. 4, 6, 8, yeah, 10 models here. So what we've got is all the different various builds, starting with Captain Judex, and then we've got all these different enforcer names: K379, Broadside, Shutout, and some other K numbers that I'm not going to bother to read. But you can see here's one of them with the build of the sniper rifle. So again, pretty cool. And then we have our little patrol here. So with the captain, we've got a couple of sergeants, and then we've got all of the gims that are most likely going to die in the underhive of the Necromunda. So yeah, pretty cool. Plenty of options there. Then we also have the Subjugated Patrol, 2, 4, 6 models in this, but you cannot make all of those and all of those from the set. You're going to be able to make either all of those, and some of those. So it's pretty much split. So you're going to get about 11 models out of the full build in total for 6, and then you're going to split some of those body parts into these guys here, and these are the ones with the slab shields. So you can't make both sets of that, so you're going to have to pick and choose a little bit more carefully. The standard pamphlet from the Thermic Plasma Conduits, they have titled it with Necromunda, but it is exactly the same as the ones that you can buy separately. So it's 2 halves of pipe work as usual. We've got some L bends, we've got a terminal here, we've got some end pipes, some broken pipe ends, and so on. It's quite a short amount of pipe work, but you know what, it's perfect for this scale of game. Or you could just use it in regular 40k, which is probably what I'm going to do. We also have the pamphlet on the columns and walls, just to show you how these all go together. You can just put that on camera now, so we can see we've got the 4 corners here, just to make sort of each individual one of these columns. And you can see I was talking about where the pipe interfaces go. If you can just see that on the camera now, you can attach these little circular pieces here, and that's where your thermic pipes will go into and make it look like they're disappearing into the wall. And then we've got terminals and other bits and pieces that we can bolt onto the side for variety. Also has the instruction for the doors as well in this piece. So we can see we basically make an L-shaped bracket, and then we put the door section into the top. That slides in, so you can actually, if you don't glue it, which is what it tells you to do here, you can pull the door out to represent it being opened, or you can just slide it in to represent it being firmly shut. We've got some small door sections and some large door sections. Then we have all the wall pieces on this side here. Wall constructions, yeah, you're just making, you know, longer sections. They look like the columns, but they're just walls. It's just 4 sides and a top, nice and simple. And then we've got some examples of how this would look like with those sections on the map. It kind of shows you how to build it up, and you can build it, if you don't glue it, with plenty of variety. This just gives you an idea of where to put the columns. Then we can add the wall sections in down here. Then we move on to the next layer, of applying all of the main door sections, and then we can start adding all the platforms across the top. And that's just an example. You can probably, well, you will be able to make this quite high up if you really want it to be a bit more sprawling, a bit more three-dimensional than perhaps a sort of a single or double layer map that we've got here. And again, it just continues on. This time we're adding some more floors, and then we're adding finally the thermic pipes into here. You can put them upright or elongated. Magically, what I've seen before with all the Sector Mechanicus terrain is that the pipes magically are the same length as some of the floor panels. So actually, the orientation of them doesn't really matter. You can put them in any kind of configuration and it will basically work, which is a really cool concept, that you're not having to cut pieces out, leave pieces alone, or you know what, cut and shut to make them fit. It's kind of been thought about that it will all be contiguous. Then the final pamphlet here is the platforms and stairs. This just basically shows you how to attach these to the columns that you've already got on the wall sections you've already got, how to make sort of L-bend stairs, plenty of options on handrails with loads of grimdark tech bolted to them, you know, all the sensor panels and control terminals and so on. Nothing overly exciting, but it is good to see staircases. I don't know why I'm so excited about staircases in the grimdark. And then we've got the same instructions before, just the example demonstration of how to lay out a sample board for playing the game. And when we take the instruction manual out of its cellophane, we also come with two quick reference guides, one for each player, which is very handy. I like the way they do two, so you haven't got to share. They've done that in Kill Team as well. It's a great idea. Aeronautica Imperialis, I believe, has the same, as has Adeptus Titanicus. So continuing along with the specialist games with the quick reference guides, and then we have the rulebook. Now, I bought the last rulebook, didn't play a single game, but I am a sucker for background and fluff and everything else. So the rules are, you know, quite hefty. Lots of nice artwork, a good quality book really. Lots of nice, you know, stuff in there. I'm not going to go through the rules in this because, as I said, I haven't actually played a single game. Well, I've played the really old Necromunda. I've never played the newer versions of it that have been out more recently. But I'm in it for the terrain and the models regardless. As you know from this channel, I'm more of a collector and a painter than I am a player, which is why the channel isn't full of battle reports. But again, pretty good book. Lots of details. I do like that picture. I think that's very cool. Just trying to stop the glare on the camera. With a grenade pistol thing and his big slab shield, I think he looks pretty cool. It does remind me a little bit Judge Dredd-like, which is never a bad thing. And then some example paint jobs at the very end here. That leaves us really with the card deck. Now, all Games Workshop games these days have gone down the card route. I'm not going to open these up. These are the same kind of quality card that we've seen with all of the recent games. They're about the same size as the Aeronautica Imperialis cards. I think they're a great addition to the game rather than just solely relying on a rulebook. They give that bit of flexibility. They make the games a little bit more exciting when you pull out a magic card and go, ha! I'm going to play this stratagem, or I have this ability. And it's always nice to have them in a card format than having to continually flick through a rulebook trying to pull something out of the bag there. I think it's a great way to play the game. A lot of other figure-based games are very heavy on cards. You look at sort of X-Wing and so on, all the pilot cards and everything else that you need to play that game. So yeah, it's one of those things. It does mean more materials to carry around, but it's part of the deal. So that wraps up all the contents of the Necromunda Dark Uprising box set. So when we come back, I'll come back on camera and we'll have a discussion around the price and value. So with the unboxing now complete, let's talk value. This is the important thing when you're spending £175 RRP from Games Workshop on this entire box set. So the first thing we can do is just try and break this down to see where we're going to be getting any savings. So we've got the two units of troops that come with this. They are going for about £26 each off of Games Workshop. So the Enforcers and the Gangs are basically £26 each. That's £52 off of your 175, making £123. Then we take the pipes. Now the pipes isn't a full set of pipes. If you were to spend £22.50 on the Thermic pipes, you will get double the amount here. So this is only half the amount. So £12.25 brings us down to about £110 worth of value. Now let's talk rulebook. Rulebooks go for £20 to £25 each. So if we call it the ballpark of £20, brings us down to £90. Then we start talking cards, dice and templates and so on. Cards are about £10 a deck, dice are about £10 a bundle, and the templates are another sort of £10-ish, although most of us probably have templates thrown around from older editions of Warhammer. So if we take that £10, $20, £30 worth of value, brings us down to about £60 before we then start talking about the rest of the terrain. Now if you take the ballpark value that I've calculated is around just over £10 a terrain sprue. So going on things like the Magnavent, the Galvanic Magnavent, and some of the other bits and pieces, though 4 sprues of terrain comes in at about £45. We're just talking over £10 a sprue, and we have 10 of those. In fact, we have 16 of those. Let's get that right, 16 frames of terrain. So we're talking £160 less from our... Where were we? We're down to about £60 here, so £160 worth of frames of terrain gives us around about an approximate value of £100 worth of terrain in here for free. So that is where the financial value comes into this box set. So you are going to make a big saving, but the key is you're going to have to make a big outlay initially to be able to secure that saving. If you work on a monthly hobby budget, you're either going to have to forfeit your future budget, or you're going to have to save up in order to get the accumulated value. Value is always in the eye of the beholder. Most people prefer to spend money on miniatures. That's where people would like to see their money spent. But equally, in my opinion, playing games on nice terrain boards makes so much difference than just playing with very boring terrain. So for me, and for probably many people out there that do play Warhammer 40k or any of the variety of games that are set in the same arena like Necromunda or Kill Team, this is a very good value box set. Now it is, I think I said at the start of the video, this is the most expensive single box set from Games Workshop. I think it does tie with Adeptus Titanicus. I think when that came out it was equal at 175, but that was more miniatures and less terrain. This is more terrain than it is miniatures, but you do get some cool miniatures. The second part of my value calculation here is usability. So this does come boxed up as a Necromunda bundle terrain set with the mat and everything. So this is a self-contained game. So for me, can you use it beyond just Necromunda? And the answer is quite obviously, to me anyway, yes. This will make a great Kill Team board. So you can now use it with your Kill Team stuff. And Kill Team sets come with all their terrain pieces as well. Combine the sets together, you're in for a winner. And equally, it all works in 40k. Pretty much any terrain environment works for Warhammer 40k. So bundling this terrain into your sets of your game sets of Warhammer is going to add that extra dimension to the set. So you can now transpose it across 3 different game systems. It's quite bulky. It's going to cover, you know, a good 4-foot square board. If you're playing on a traditional 4x6, you've still got plenty of terrain you're going to need to have, but it would make a nice centerpiece. You know, forces are coming in and fighting over this, you know, sort of outskirt ruin Necromunda hive, however you want to put it, however you want to build it, and for me that makes that added value. So financial savings across the games, added terrain to your collection, plus it's fully interchangeable and interusable with the existing terrain kits. What more is there to dislike other than that initial outlay? So as I said, Value is in the eye of the beholder. If you can afford it, it's worth it in the long run. If you can't, then should you save up and put it all together for that one big set, or would you rather spend it on more actual toy soldiers? That is something that I'd like to hear from you guys in the comment section below. Do you think it's good value? Do you think Games Workshop are pricing themselves at that upper tier for people's hobby budget? Or do you feel that, you know, if you're saving every month or whatever, is this the kind of thing that you want to save towards? Or would you like more notice for it? Because when it first gets advertised, is that when you start saving for it, or do you forfeit your hobby budget after you've spent it? Difficult decisions, but I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section below. But if you enjoyed this video, this big unboxing, my 250th video on this channel, I'd also like to hear from you. But thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I shall catch you guys on the next video.